Imagine sitting across from a philosopher who challenges everything you believe about your life. This is the premise of The Courage to be Disliked by Ichiro Kishimi in Fumitake Koga. The book presents a conversation between a skeptical youth and a wise philosopher, exploring the revolutionary ideas of Alfred Adler, one of the founding giants of modern psychology alongside Freud and Jung. The youth starts where most of us do. He believes his current struggles, insecurities, and unhappiness are direct results of his past. He points to strict parents, childhood trauma, and past failures as the architects of his misery. This is known as etiology, the study of causes. Freud believed our psychological wounds dictate our adult behavior like a set of unchangeable tracks. However, the philosopher drops a bombshell that turns this worldview upside down. Trauma does not exist. Before you gasp, the philosopher clarifies. Adlerian psychology rejects determinism, the idea that our past completely determines our future. Instead, it embraces teleology, the study of goals. We are not pushed by the past, we are pulled by the goals we set for ourselves in the present. The youth is outraged. Are past experiences meaningless? No, says the philosopher. It is not our experiences that dictate us, but the meaning we give them. We use our past experiences to justify our current lifestyle and maintain the status quo, because change, though desired, is terrifying. We cling to our wounds because they serve a hidden purpose. This realization is the first step toward true liberation, unlocking a journey that challenges us to take total ownership of our lives. Delving deeper into Adlerian psychology, the philosopher introduces a radical concept. We invent our emotions to achieve specific goals. Consider a person who suffers from crippling anxiety and cannot leave the house. Traditional psychology looks backward to find the root cause. Adlerian psychology looks forward to ask, what is the purpose of this anxiety right now? Often, the anxiety serves to keep the person safe within the confines of home, protecting them from the potential rejection and failure of the outside world. The emotion is manufactured as a tool to achieve a goal, in this case, avoidance. This can feel confronting. Does it mean our pain isn't real? Of course it is real, but recognizing that we choose our emotional states gives us immense power. If we created the problem, we also hold the key to the solution. The youth struggles to accept this. If we are completely free to choose our responses, does that mean we are to blame for our own suffering? The philosopher explains that accepting responsibility is not about blame, it is about agency. Think about a rainy day. You cannot control the weather, but you can choose whether to carry an umbrella. Similarly, you cannot control what happened to you in the past, but you can choose the meaning you assign to it today. By shifting our focus from what happened to what we want to achieve, we break free from the invisible chains of determinism. We realize that our lifestyle, our habits, beliefs, and emotional patterns is entirely our own creation, and therefore it can be rewritten at any moment, regardless of how long we have lived a certain way. As the dialogue progresses, the philosopher drops another profound truth that shocks the youth. All problems are interpersonal relationship problems. Take a moment to let that sink in. Think about your deepest anxieties, your financial worries, your career frustrations, or your existential dread. Strip away the surface layers, and what do you find at the core? Almost always, it is about how we relate to other people. If you were the only human being on planet Earth, financial stress would vanish, because money only has value in a social context. Loneliness, feelings of inadequacy, jealousy, and the desire for approval all require an audience. We judge ourselves against others. We fear being looked down upon, and we constantly measure our worth through external validation. Adler asserted that human unhappiness stems entirely from the social sphere. But here's the magnificent flip side. All joy and happiness also come from interpersonal relationships. You cannot experience true connection, love, or community in total isolation. The youth begins to see the trap he has built for himself. By viewing life as a competition where others are either rivals or judges, he constantly keeps his guard up. He wants to feel superior to protect his fragile ego, or he plays the victim to gain sympathy. Recognizing that relational friction is the root of all psychological distress shifts our focus. Instead of trying to fix our internal state in a vacuum, we must learn how to navigate our connections with others. The battlefield is not inside our own heads, it is in the dance between ourselves and the world. To change our lives, we must fundamentally transform how we interact with the people around us. One of the most life-changing concepts in The Courage to be Disliked is the principle of separating tasks. The philosopher explains that a vast majority of interpersonal conflicts happen because people constantly step onto other people's territory and interfere in matters that do not belong to them. Adler suggests we ask a simple question when facing any conflict or anxiety: whose task is this? Imagine a parent who frantically forces their child to study. The parent believes it is their job to make the child successful. Adler says absolutely not. Studying is the child's task, not the parent's. The parent can offer support, but whether the child studies or fails is ultimately up to the child. When parents try to control the child's task, rebellion, resentment, and chronic friction are born. Separating tasks applies everywhere. If you worry what your colleagues think of you, you are meddling in their task. What they think of you is their responsibility. How you behave is yours. You cannot control their opinions, and trying to manage them is an exercise in utter futility. When we respect task separation, a massive weight lifts from our shoulders. We stop carrying burdens that were never ours to hold, and we stop letting others dictate our emotional well-being. We realize that we are only responsible for our own choices, and others are responsible for theirs. This clear boundary is the absolute bedrock of healthy, peaceful relationships, allowing us to love and interact without manipulation, control, or anxiety. This brings us to the core thesis of the entire book and its most provocative paradox. True freedom requires the courage to be disliked. Most of us spend our lives chasing universal approval. We twist ourselves into pretzels to please our bosses, our friends, our families, and even complete strangers. We want everyone to like us, think well of us, and validate our choices. But Adler argues that seeking approval is a form of living a life dictated by others. If you want to live freely, you must accept a hard reality. It is impossible for everyone to like you. The moment you express your true self, set a boundary, or pursue a unique path, some people will inevitably disagree, judge, or dislike you. When you lack the courage to be disliked, you constantly seek the validation of others. You become a slave to their expectations. You live in fear of their disapproval. But true freedom is the ability to walk away from that trap. Being disliked is proof that you are exercising your freedom and living authentically. It means you are putting your own values ahead of someone else's expectations. The philosopher points out that when others do not approve of you, it is their task to deal with their feelings, not yours. When you embrace this mindset, the fear of rejection dissolves. You no longer need applause to feel worthy. You discover that you are enough, exactly as you are, and that the opinions of others hold no power over your inner peace. You are finally steering your own ship. As the youth absorbs the idea of freedom and boundaries, he asks a crucial question. If we don't care about approval, does that mean we should become selfish loners who ignore everyone else? Not at all. Adler introduces the concept of community feeling, Gemeinschaftsgefühl, which is the ultimate goal of Adlerian psychology. It means viewing others not as rivals or enemies, but as comrades and members of your community. To build community feeling, we must shift from vertical relationships to horizontal relationships. Most of our society operates on vertical relationships, hierarchies based on power, status, praise, and control, bosses over employees, parents over children, or even social comparisons where we rank ourselves as superior or inferior to our peers. In a vertical relationship, praise and rebuke are used to manipulate behavior. When you praise someone, you are evaluating them from a position of superiority. Horizontal relationships, on the other hand, are built on equality and mutual respect. You do not manage, control, or look down on anyone, nor do you grovel beneath them. You interact with mutual aid and profound empathy. When you view others horizontally, you stop trying to prove your worth through competition. You can celebrate other people's successes without feeling threatened. You realize that human value does not come from titles, achievements, or applause, but simply from existence. This shift transforms our relationships from battlegrounds of ego into havens of authentic connection and shared human warmth. Toward the end of their intense dialogue, the philosopher shares the final secret to happiness: focusing entirely on the here and now. Many of us live our lives like a journey with a distant destination. We postpone our happiness for the future, waiting until we get the promotion, find the right partner, retire, or fix our flaws. We treat the present moment as a mere rehearsal for the real life that is supposed to happen later. Adlerian psychology rejects this completely. Life is not a dramatic narrative with a grand climax. It is a series of dots, of moments. Think of your life as a dance. When you dance, the goal of the dance is not to reach a specific corner of the stage. The goal of the dance is the dance itself. Each step, each movement, and each rhythm is valuable in its own right. If you are too focused on the future, you miss your life. If you are weighed down by the past, you waste your life. The only moment that truly exists is right now. When we live in the here and now, we take earnest, serious action toward whatever is in front of us, without worrying about grand outcomes or catastrophic failures. We treat each day as if it were a complete, self-contained lifetime. By shining a bright, intense light on the present moment, we dissolve future anxiety and past regret, finding a profound, unshakable peace that comes from simply being alive, right here, right now. As the dialogue concludes, the youth undergoes a profound transformation. He realizes that the journey of self-discovery is not about acquiring new tricks or fixing external circumstances. It is a total paradigm shift in how he chooses to perceive himself and the world. The wisdom of the courage to be disliked boils down to a few core choices: letting go of the myth of trauma, taking absolute responsibility for your life, separating your tasks from the tasks of others, finding the courage to be disliked, embracing horizontal relationships, and living intensely in the present moment. Change is not easy. It requires courage, the courage to step out of the comfortable misery of the familiar and into the boundless freedom of the unknown. You do not need anyone's permission to change your life, and you certainly do not need universal approval to be happy. The power has been inside you all along, waiting for you to make the choice. If this deep dive into Adlerian psychology has inspired you to rethink your life, take a moment to reflect on your own journey. Which task are you carrying that doesn't belong to you? Where are you holding back out of fear of disapproval? Thank you for listening to this deep dive. If you enjoyed this script and want to explore more life-changing ideas, make sure to like this video, share it with a friend who needs to hear it, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon button so you never miss out on our upcoming content.